Hi, everybody. My name's Lisa Martinez, and Gilpin, if you want to add the extra from the agenda. But I usually go by Lisa Martinez, and I oversee news and publishing on the Google Play team. And I also work on VR apps as well. So I'm here to talk with you all today a little bit about virtual reality, as well as how virtual reality is playing a huge role in how Google is innovating this great new platform, and how we see virtual reality really as the next huge moment in computing. So take a step back and think about Google's overall mission. The mission is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. And this is very apropos because it applies to a lot of different things. And it also applies to virtual reality, especially if you think about what is the goodness that virtual reality really brings to the table. And what we think it brings is experiences. Really thinking about transporting a person into a very real experience. And so if we think about organizing the world's information and making it universally accessible and useful, for us, we are interested in organizing the world's experiences as well. So in thinking about transporting you into different experiences, think about, blinking and all of a sudden you're in a beautiful museum with priceless works of art. Or you're suddenly under the sea swimming with turtles. Or you're seeing your favorite band, mine is U2, in a concert setting where you are, front and center. There's lots of different use cases that one can think about. If you're into sports, you could be courtside at an NBA game. There's a lot of different ways you can think about being transported. And again, beautiful vacation places obviously fall into that as well. And so you get the point. So enter Cardboard. In 2014, we launched Google Cardboard with 3 core tenets. It had to be mobile, it had to be approachable, and it had to be for everyone. In the core sense of the word, what we were looking to achieve was to really democratize what virtual reality is and what it can be for lots of different people. Virtual reality can be a really confusing terminology. And so what we wanted to achieve with Cardboard was really breaking it down and making it universal for anybody from 5-year-old kids all the way up can really appreciate what VR can bring to the table. So Cardboard continues to live and breathe in the wild. It's doing extremely well. Over 5 million cardboards have been shipped plus, and this number is probably a little understated, as well as I mentioned, for the student population with expeditions, it's been fantastic for, again, transporting students into these experiences where they can learn really hands-on. And so when we think about installs of apps, we see obviously this up and to the right type of projection. We expect that to continue. And then finally with Cardboard Camera, all of a sudden now you're in the driver's seat, so to speak, and you're creating those images for yourself as you experience them as well, which is pretty cool. So why mobile? We think mobile is a core component to virtual reality. It adds to that transportational experience, no longer sort of held back by a tether or wire. But the other thing too is the lion's share of the traffic is coming from mobile devices. When we think about desktop experiences, there's a lot of different challenges there. So we really want to speak to that audience and make it extremely easy and flexible. And having a mobile device layer into our solution is a core component to that. So if we think about keywords, like what does VR really mean? A few things come to mind. So the idea that it's incredibly mobile, you can, again, transport yourself to lots of different places and not be necessarily tethered is a core one. Being approachable, right? The whole idea is that it shouldn't be so fussy. I'm sorry, somebody's phone is ringing. It's the Marriott. making VR for everyone. So we're breaking down that barrier, as well as comfort, having the experiences be extremely rich and vast and interactive, where there are actual things you can do. And again, being extremely immersive are all really important points when we start to think about building VR for everyone and the best VR. So in talking about search keywords, one of the things that was interesting to note too is that we started to see a huge interest and curiosity around VR. So if we looked at VR-specific keywords like virtual reality, augmented reality, we saw a 4x growth in search terms on Google search just in the last year alone, and we expect that to continue. So clearly, not only is Google really interested in doubling down in virtual reality, but our users are super curious about VR as well. So Google Smartphone VR in 2016. So I mentioned how in 2014 we launched with Cardboard, and now fast forward to 2016. And you'll see just a couple little points of juxtaposition here. So in 2014, we had Cardboard. It was our entree into a mobile VR platform type of solution. It can be used with any type of modern smartphone, iOS included, so multi-platform play here. And it's great for these short-form, bite-sized experiences. So we developed Cardboard with a very specific intentionality, which was to get people started, almost like an appetizer to what VR can do. And so very deliberately, we did not attach a head strap to it. It was meant to be held in your hands for a short amount of time. One, because we wanted to, again, create this introductory type of experience. But the flip side of it was we didn't want to make the experience so long and belabored for a new developer where they were saying, well, how am I going to keep the consumer or the user interested for all this time when they're sitting back? Whereas when you have your hands up to your face, it's really a few minutes before your hands start to get tired or you want to move on and do other things. So it was a very specific reason why we designed Cardboard the way we did. And finally, a low-cost hardware viewer. So, Cardboard is very nimble, flexible. You can drop it. Great for kids, great for adults, right? But also, it's not too expensive. The Marriott's calling. Call them back. Fast forward to 2016, and you'll see with Daydream, it's a very different offering, right? So where we had our intro with Cardboard, Daydream is going to be our sophomore experience here with a premium mobile VR platform. And so what that means is we need better phones for that better experience. So obviously the high-performing smartphone is certainly needed. And then also, just to make a note here, because I'd mentioned, in this case, it's any modern smartphone. With Daydream, it's going to be Android specific. And then finally, we had the short form, bite-sized, appetizer type experiences. And with Daydream, you'll have a much longer session length. And we did introduce the strap. So all of a sudden now you have that, lean back experience that's more analogous to other entertainment-like experiences like listening to a podcast or watching a TV show, etc. So now all of a sudden, you can get comfortable in your home or, outside of the home based on your comfort level for having a device strapped to your face, of course. But the idea is we're now going to give you a lot more content to feed off of, and it's hopefully very diverse. That's our aim. And then finally, consumer-grade hardware. So, enter Daydream. A little bit more about Daydream here. There's really three key components here. So, as I mentioned, the smartphone device, the mobile phone is obviously necessary for this type of experience. And it'll be forward thinking, so starting with end release and beyond. And then finally, we will be providing the VR platform itself. So if you think about the Google Play Store today, you'll be able to see something very similar in VR. And then finally, it's really about the apps and bring a diversity of experiences. So not just gaming platforms, but also traditional apps with lots of great content. And then finally, the hardware itself. So what does that look like? What does it feel like to touch? What does it feel like on your face? So we have two pieces. It's the viewer, and you'll see a reference design here, as well as the controller. So couple things to note here just in terms of performance, right? So when we're thinking about building really smart VR, really good VR, great VR even, what are some of the things that can hold us back? Well, we're certainly optimizing for low latency. The whole idea here is you shouldn't feel sort of this jiggly, very slow experience that we often see with videos that are buffering and things like that, right? That's kind of a bummer. From a female perspective, I'm gonna put my hair in a ponytail, tie back the hair, forget about the makeup, put this on. I want it to be awesome, right? I don't want to sort of wait for that experience to happen. Also sustained performance, right? So as I mentioned with cardboard, we have the hands up here. With Daydream, you'll have the controller in your hand, but you'll also have another hand free. So we want to make sure that the battery life is really good, and that you have this sustained experience for longer than just a few minutes, obviously. The head tracking is important too. Some of the things that we've been learning as we've been working with developers is obviously camera speeds are important. One of the things we don't want to happen is for users to get nauseous or sick or feel icky. That's not what we're optimizing for. So we're careful with the head tracking piece, and then obviously the user experience and the UI, making sure it's intuitive, easy to navigate, easy to understand, things like that. So this is a look. This is a screenshot of what the Google Play Store will look like in VR. And so you see it's very similar to what you'll see in the typical Play Store, but with a lot more nuance. There's that concavity there, and it will be obviously very fluid, so you'll be able to move with the controller and point and click at things and have that interactivity, which we couldn't really offer in the cardboard experience. And again, here's a picture, a close-up of the reference design. So you'll see there's a hook here with a latch. The latch will be opened, the phone will be slotted in. And again, the strap is designed to be extremely comfortable, as is the headgear itself. And then a nice controller, so nothing too cumbersome, big, heavy. It's actually really light, and it has the touchpad at the end. So a little on the touchpad. So 3 core points here. Definitely accessible, expressive in the sense that you can actually do things with it and manipulate it, and portable. Portability is an interesting one for us, because what we're hoping users will do is that they'll actually carry it, take it to a friend's house, if you're gonna have dinner, actually show them what Daydream can do. And so we've made it so and designed it so that it's really easy to carry and take with you. Or if you're traveling, on a plane and you want to experience it while you're in flight. We have seen a couple of those instances already, but looking forward to those brave souls who are willing to do that, put it on. More to come there. We'll see what happens with that. And then finally, just some more detail around what the actual controller will look like and feel like. So there'll be a home button, which gets you to the VR Play Store. And then the clickable touchpad is actually at the end. And you can sort of manipulate that to do things, right? So now if you're thinking about interactive and immersive experiences, what would you like the user to do? How would you like the user to interact with your content, right? So, is it about opening a door and entering a room where there's a bunch of pieces of news that you can then choose? Or is it about being able to manipulate the story? There's lots of different ways, publishers are thinking about this. And again, not just news because it's my category, but lots of different categories in terms of now you've got this user, they've got this, handheld device. What do you want them to do with it? Is something as an open question that we always ask a lot of our partners. And then, transforming with your imagination, right? So just really thinking outside the box. One of the open questions we ask partners all the time is, if we've looked at a certain concept, it's like, this is great, is this story even better as being told in VR, or is it for the sake of doing VR? And so if it's the former, that's the best outcome, right? Because you want that guttural feeling that you get when you see a really great VR experience where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm totally there. I feel it. I feel like I'm about to jump off a diving board or a high dive, and I don't feel comfortable. I hate to say it, but we want you nervously uncomfortable. That is a sign that VR is being done well. And so that's essentially what we're optimizing for, really. So just a quick look here. I mentioned there are games and apps. They're being brought to the platform. And so these are the games from the gaming side of the house that we announced at Google I/O. And so from the portfolio of the gaming side, the content focus area needs to be accessible. It needs to be broadly appealing. In the past, games has been, very much an industry dominated by a male focus. And so not so with Daydream. We are looking for games that also, women and females and girls will like as well. Also demographically diverse. So globally, we are interested in seeing all different types of nuances and scenarios and games that appeal to a variety of audiences, certainly. Also Daydream tailored. So we're not looking for demos and sort of like snippets and like sort of, coming soon scenarios. We want like fully baked experiences. Again, thinking about, transporting the user. Made for, and I cover this, made for or better in VR is certainly something that we talk about across my team and my landscape and cross teams, games and apps too. When we say, does this feel good? Does it look good? Do you get the chills? Do you have an emotion when you see this content? Those are usually good signs. And then finally, from a business model perspective, it's early days, for the monetization component for sure. But we're looking at some premium content, some episodic content. We're not necessarily, doubling down on any type of monetization, whether that be, ads or, subscription-based models, et cetera. It's just simply too soon. So certainly all those ideas are on the table and worth exploring. It's just for such a new platform, we want to be able to see growth in the content itself and in delivering really great experiences before we kind of figure out, what's the best monetization model. And again, this is for games, but it also translates for apps too. So the other side of the house here, you'll see our launch partners on the app side. So we have a lot of prominence in the news category, but also entertainment and studios, just to show sort of that juxtaposition between games and the diversity of apps. So there's a lot there, well beyond, what would be like a typical gaming platform. And then from the portfolio of the apps, we're looking for a balanced distribution of content, lots of different categories. Sports is going to be included in there. Studios, newspapers, traditional, as well as VR first apps as well. Lots of exclusive content. So the whole idea here is to provide experiences that haven't been seen before. Yes, we'll have content that will be at parity with other platforms, but what we're optimizing for here is really cracking the nut on the possibilities, being able to demonstrate all the different ways where VR really can work extremely well outside of sort of the normal, typical use cases you might see. And then again, back to the business model, certainly subscriptions, premium promotions, ads, all these things are in the wheelhouse and open for discussion, but we're certainly not at a place where we want to, call out our point of view on where we see this going, because we really want to just get it in the wild and see how users interact with it and what makes the most sense. So I'll end here on the Daydream reference design. Like I said, we are, definitely doubling down on virtual reality. We see a lot of great, beautiful experiences coming to the platform, and can't wait to share them with you coming soon. Any questions?
Yes. What have you seen with Daydream and mixed reality so far?
Daydream and mixed reality. So if we look at a sort of panorama of where we're going, first there was text, our face content, and then we added, text and images were really cool, and then video strategies definitely became more promising, especially for the media companies, right? Now enter the realities, the reality triplets, as I say. So there's virtual reality, augmented reality through projects that we're working on, like Tango, and then finally mixed reality at the end. So certainly an area that we're discovering, but as you can imagine, that is like the peak. So we're really more interested in making sure we're providing beautiful experiences in virtual reality first, gaining our sea legs and lots of learnings there. In Sigdapato with augmented reality, we've seen some really cool reference designs and examples with even retailers like Wayfair really thinking outside the box, literally. And then from there, mixed reality is sort of the most advanced triple black diamonds approach, and we'll get there over time. So to answer your question, definitely see it playing a role, but it's again such a new type of nascent platform that we're looking to advance very quickly based on interest from users. Certainly, I would say an area where we're exploring, but we want to make sure we get the VR and the AR component right first. Yes?
With cardboard, there's snackable experiences. With longer form VR, Oculus and Vive, they put a minimum age. Please don't be younger than such and such.
Yeah.
Since Daydream is going to be a bit longer of an experience, will you have a minimum age limitation on the Play Store?
Yeah, we're gonna, especially for now, what we're being really sensitive about is anybody that's 13 and under. And a lot of it too is because of the nausea and any type of ill feeling, let's just say, without kind of going there. But long story short, yeah, we're optimizing for an audience that's older than 13. Do I envision a day where we'll maybe have like more games for kids, let's say, or working with partners that are younger audiences that are targeting younger audiences? Sure, but for right now and where we are, would rather sort of play safe, make sure that we perfect what the experiences are going to look like for the 13 and up crowd, without sort of having the nausea experience early on. So yeah, it's typically 13 and up. Yeah. Okay.
You mentioned that Daydream is currently only available for Android. Is that right?
Yes.
Are there any ongoing efforts to bring it to other platforms?
It's certainly open for discussion, and we would never, we are an open platform. We would never just have a hard and steadfast sort of like, hard and steadfast no behind that. But for us, it's, we would love to, and we know we need a better phone. We would love to just really focus on, Android-centric devices at this time. And with end release, that's going to have a special VR mode. And so, a lot of this is around, making sure we know what we have first before we start opening it up. But Cardboard is open to iOS and will continue to be just that within a while and grow. So do I see a time when it might open up? Sure. Do I see a time where it might not? Sure. It's too early now. Yes.
So for Play Store, I kind of think I know the answer to this question, but I just want confirmation. At launch, it's going to be where any developer will be able to put up an app that's Daydream ready in the store.
So right now, for launch, we have launch partners that we've announced, and we're working very closely with them. And to be honest, a lot of them are working with third parties as well to help to perfect those experiences and make them beautiful. Not to say that you can't create an app on your own.
What I mean, if I want to put it up on the Play Store once, like I'm guessing, once it's announced, which I'm guessing is next week, but who knows? Like, is that going to be open, or is there going to be a period of a month or two where partners can get exclusive access to distribute the entire?
Good question. I think it'll for the beginning it'll be closed, and then we have an interest form right now for an open program. So we'll be reaching out to those folks that have expressed interest in the program, so that we can work with them a little bit, and then obviously participate. So closed is a hard to be said fast rule. We do have an open program right now where you can fill out an interest form, and we'll get back to you and start those conversations.
Right. So if I've been following along and I have like an app ready for Daydream, I won't be able to distribute it until that happens.
Well, we'll reach out to you. So if you do have an app, contact us. We want to talk to you. We want to play with the app. We want to design. We want to have a full UX review of the app. Make sure that it has the best user experience.
Okay, because that's been one of the sticking points as far as like from an app developer perspective for Oculus.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually very hard to get into the store.
Right.
So I was sort of vaguely hoping that this would not be the case for Android.
I wouldn't say that it would be hard to get in the store. I think from our perspective, though, we want to make sure we're putting out a great product, and it behooves you as much as it behooves us, right? If there's something that isn't working with the application, we want to get in front of that and work with you on it first before it goes live. So, if you do have an app and you want to talk after this, totally happy to get a build of the APK. Let's open those conversations. What we don't want to have is a brand new platform come out and have issues with apps that aren't functioning. That's something we want to avoid. Yeah.
Like the Gear VRs with enhanced gyroscope, is the headset going to provide enhanced hardware on top of just the phone, or it's just relying on the phone's hardware?
It's relying on the phone's hardware. It will have the connectors though, and be Bluetooth enabled and all those features, but it rests in the phone. Yeah.
Will the specifications for the requirements for the phone be actually listed in the CDD?
Sorry, one more time. Will the
Okay,
specifications
will
for
the
the
actual
phone-
specifications for Dream be actually listed in the CDD documentation? I don't know if you can answer that, but I just asked that.
I don't know if I can answer that.
Okay.
It's. Are you talking about like the developers?
Yeah, the developer
page?
definition. The developer developer definition document. So like you must have a gyroscope of this level of quality. You must have a all that stuff.
Yeah. So we are working on the communications for that, and all of the prerequisites and all of the things that you'll need. So yeah, stay tuned for that. I'm sure we'll make it publicly available. It probably won't be available right at launch, but we will release as much documentation as we can.
So, since this is supposed to be for something like for a longer period of time that somebody will be using it, so does that thing, for instance, that the actual headpiece, right? Is it just an enclosure, or does it actually provide extra functionality, let's say an extra battery or something that you could connect to your phone so that you could actually use it for more than, let's say, an hour if you have a highly intensive power draining game?
Good question. So the actual hardware itself doesn't have an additional battery attached to it, but part of that is because we didn't want to add extra girth to your head with the weight of the battery. So the phones themselves are, better phones with better battery with that in mind. So no, it's nothing heavy is attached to the hardware. It's actually really light, and I think you guys, I don't want to give it away, but you'll be pleased. It's actually it's a different material than what it appears to be, but it's meant to be extremely breathable and light on your head and comfortable. Yeah. So hopefully this was eye-opening, and looking forward to having you all experience it really soon. Thanks.